Good afternoon, মৰমৰ ছাত্ৰ-ছাত্ৰীসকল। তো আজি মই ক্লাছ 10ৰ ইংলিছৰ নেলছন মেণ্ডেলা চেপ্টাৰটো লৈ আহিছোঁ। কুৱেশ্যন আছে, তো তোমালোকে ভালদৰে মন কৰিবা। ফাৰ্ষ্ট কুৱেশ্যনটো হৈছে যে হোৱেৰ ডিড দ্য চেৰেমনিজ টেক প্লেচ? কেন ইউ নেম এনি পাব্লিক বিল্ডিংছ ইন ইণ্ডিয়া দেট আৰ মেড অফ sandstone? The ceremonies took place in the sandstone amphitheater Union buildings in Pretoria, in India. The Red Fort, Supreme Court and Parliament House are made of sandstone. তাৰপিছত 2 নম্বৰ কুৱেশ্যনটো হৈছে যে কেন ইউ চে হাউ 10th May be an autonomous day in South Africa? 10th May is an autonomous day in South Africa because of its weather, and on this day freedom dawned in South Africa after 300 years of white rule. তাৰপিছত 3 নম্বৰ কুৱেশ্যনটো হৈছে যে at the beginning of his speech Mandela mentioned an extraordinary human disaster. What does he mean by this? What is the glorious human achievement he speaks at the end? By an extraordinary human disaster, Mandela means the white rule over the blacks in South Africa. The glorious human achievement is the freedom of black person. A black person became the president of a country where the blacks are not considered human beings and are treated badly. Our question is, what does Mandela thank the international leaders for? Mandela thanks the international leaders for having come to take possession native people of South Africa. It is a common victory for peace and human dignity. The personal question is what ideals he set out for the future of South Africa? He aims to liberate his people from various bondage like poverty, deprivation, suffering. He also dreams of a society where there would be no discrimination based on gender or racial origins. তাৰপিছত oral comprehension check 1 number question is what are military generals do? How has their attitude changed and why? The military generals saluted Mandela and pledged loyalty. Their attitude had changed because earlier they were under the rule of white supremacy. Now Mandela was their president. Why were 2 national anthems sung? Because of the major races, the whites and the blacks. Whites sang Nkosi Sikelel Africa and the blacks sang Tai Stem, the old anthem of the republic. The question is how does Mandela describe the system of government in his country in the first decade and in the final decade of the 20th century? Mandela describes the system of government in his country in the first decade of the 20th century, the white elected system of racial discrimination against the blacks. The number 2 is in the final decades of the 20th century, the previous system have been overturned and replaced by one which recognizes rights and freedom of all people regardless of the color of their skin. What does the courage mean to Mandela? No, Mandela courage is not the absence but the triumph over it. First question to his is why he thanks is natural to love or to hate. He thanks love to natural. তাৰপিছত what 2 in obligation does Mandela mention? Nelson Mandela mentioned that everyone has 2 obligations. First one is man's obligation to his family, his friends, his wife and his children, and the second is to his people, his community and his country. The question is why did being free mean to Mandela as a why and as a how does contrast this transitory freedoms with the basis of another movement? By being free as a Mandela meant to be free, wander, swim, run and horse means and also to ride bulls, but as a student he meant to be free to stay out at the light and to study whatever he liked. In other words, his life on his own terms. This he calls transitory freedom because as a young man he realized that these are self-centered and meaningless. It was as a youth that realized that the actually hungered for the basic honorable freedoms, the freedom of achieving his potential, the freedom of his livelihood, the freedom of marrying according to his wishes and having a family of his own. In short, the freedom of to lead a lawful life without any obstruction. তাৰপিছত 3 নম্বৰ নেক্সট বিলাক কুৱেশ্যন মই নেক্সট ক্লাছত তোমালোকক কৰাই দিম। ধন্যবাদ। মোৰ ভিডিঅ'টো ভাল লাগিলে একটা লাইক কৰি যাবা আৰু চেনেলটো ছাবস্ক্ৰাইব বেল আইকনটো প্ৰেছ কৰি। ধন্যবাদ মোৰ ছাত্ৰীবিলাক।